morning. I am your host, Sreem bin Muhammad Rafi, and here is my YouTube channel, Zamir Universal. I'm going to talk to you about 5 easy steps to stop this genocide and massacre where the United Nations Security Council has failed, where the International Court of Justice has failed, where the diplomacy of Qatar, Egypt, United States have failed, where the State Secretary, who himself is a Jew, has failed, where all the European capitals, all the Christian world trying to stop the massacre has failed due to one and only one single stubborn, mentally deranged individual. And these 5 easy steps which I am going to narrate is that if you want to get rid of someone with whom you cannot have world peace, and you cannot have thousands of your people crippled and have their legs and arms amputated, have the young girls and boys who should be in the school and colleges and getting married, forcibly inducted in the army and having them killed, recruiting mercenaries from India and all other parts of the world and fighting your war, just because of one mentally deranged, sick person called Netanyahu. If you know that, go way back when you had Yasser Arafat and you had the Palestinian Liberation Movement, and it was after the demise, one person's life sacrificed. However it was sacrificed, there are many claims that he was poisoned by Israelis. There are many claims that he died natural death. But after that, the whole movement just subsided and you never hear of the Palestinian Liberation Army or movement. So Netanyahu is not going to listen to whether it's the American president, but no matter how many billions of dollars he pours, because right in his cabinet, right in his people who go and negotiate for him are the stupidest, are the rudest, are the cruelest, are even, I think I'm ashamed to call them as humans, who say that the Palestinian and Muslim lives are not equal to the Jewish lives. And his interview, which I will just show part of that to you, is that he says no. So imagine that what kind of thinking these Jews have, who are those extremists. So it is not Lakud, it is not just that. The whole world has to get rid of this person, and whatever means it has to be done, it has to be done. Do it in a civilized way. Do it. No need to, I think, have millions of your people starved and killed, and no need to get into the caves, no need to go into the tunnels, no need to go to Qatar, no need to go to Egypt, no need to go to any other part or hide or do anything and cry over the newborns wrapped in coffin. But all you have to do is to get rid of this one single man. One single man who is now on the fingertips having the whole world dance on his tune of cruelty, killer of the babies and women. He is such a coward person. Then he wanted immunity for his corruption. And if a person, he can't face his corruption charges, you can imagine the character of that man going to the hospitals, to the amputees and saying, I will, quoting them, exchanging them, blackmailing the emotional blackmailer. I think this is one of those 5. The most important thing is to get rid of Netanyahu and get rid of him now. If you want peace in the Red Sea, if you want peace in the Middle East, if you want the American embassies not attacked or burned to ashes, then I think it is about time. If you want complete unrest in the United States to stop, if you want Joe Biden to win these elections, if you want Trump not to win, then I think it is the only choice that you now have to get rid of this man if you want to kill that extremist movement which he over the last 75 years has cultivated in every newborn Zionist, and that's the only solution. It's a waste of time, and he is put the whole world on fire. Not only the neighbor, not only Egypt and Jordan and Syria and Lebanon, but the whole world. You see what's happening in Yemen and all the countries around Yemen. Even I think you can see the aftershocks being felt up into China and Russia, and even to the remotest part of the world. And because this is due to one single man who keeps shouting, he keeps opening his foul mouth and keeps showing that he is adamant not to have ceasefire. So his personal ego is hurt because it's the first time he has been shown his blackened face, his ugly face, his scurrilous nature, he's schizophrenic, he's megalomania, he is a bipolar patient of psychiatry, and instead of putting him behind the bars and institutionalize him, this is the only way to get rid of him, is to either to put him in a dungeon, or that's what the Hamas should be doing, is concentrating all their energy and focusing on this one single man, whether it is Hezbollah, whether it is Hamas, whether even Israelis whose loved ones are in hostage, or even those crippled, or even those who are empty, even those who have been denied this and by force inducted into his ambition. No one in the world has been able in the history to get rid of an ideology. And he cannot. He has been defeated. I repeat millions of times that the man has blackened his face. His pride has been now hurt because he felt that he is infallible and he cannot be defeated. He has been defeated. He's been defeated since October last year. And he deserved that, because look why he deserved that. It is because of those innocent people in Israel they were taken captives. It is because of him that he kept them, the blockade for 16, 17 years as animals. It is because of him and people like him who kept 75 years to the occupied, insulted them and hit them, killed their women and their children, mostly took their homes. What else do you expect? Even the animal will bite you back. So with this, that this easiest solution is not these talks and then getting the whole world being a psychiatric patients and going into depressions and letting the whole world on fire. No ship passing through the Red Sea. Due to what? One person, one. And this is exactly what you used to see that in Yasser Arafat. That is why the Oslo Accord failed. And this is why now the Israelis must get rid of him. The world must get rid of him if they want peace in the Middle East and Israel and in the whole world.
Amid the ever-changing dynamics of the ongoing conflict, Scott Ritter, a former UN weapons inspections officer, seems to suggest that Israel may face defeat as the IDF loses its grip on the war in the Middle East. Until recently, the narrative surrounding the conflict in Gaza has been predominantly shaped and controlled by the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, and the country's Ministry of Defense. This control over the narrative has allowed Israel to largely dictate the framing and portrayal of events related to the conflict, both domestically and internationally. Following the lost lives of Palestinians and the widespread destruction in Gaza, Israel's international reputation has indeed faced significant scrutiny and criticism. Images and reports of civilian casualties, including children, as well as the extensive damage to infrastructure, have led to condemnation from various international actors, including governments, human rights organizations, and the United Nations. Despite this, the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, have continued to promote a narrative emphasizing the weakening of Hamas, the dominant militant group in Gaza, as a result of their military actions. The IDF has sought to portray its operations in Gaza as targeting Hamas's military capabilities, while minimizing civilian harm. This narrative includes assertions that the war in northern Gaza where much of the initial fighting occurred, has been largely concluded, with significant damage inflicted on Hamas's infrastructure and leadership. Despite these efforts to shape the narrative, there are growing concerns among some international observers and human rights organizations about the proportionality and legality of Israel's military actions in Gaza. Questions have been raised about the impact of the conflict on civilian populations, including the targeting of residential buildings and infrastructure, as well as the use of force in densely populated areas. These concerns have contributed to calls for independent investigations into alleged violations of international humanitarian law and human rights abuses. Recent developments have brought into question the narratives put forth by the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, regarding the ongoing conflict with Hamas in Gaza. While the IDF has sought to present a narrative of Israel's military superiority and success in weakening Hamas, there are indications that this portrayal may not accurately reflect the situation on the ground. Critics argue that the IDF's narrative to the public and the international community may be designed to create the perception of Israel emerging victorious against Hamas, even if the actual outcome of the conflict is less clear-cut. The narrative promoted by the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, was further bolstered by the severe challenges faced by journalists attempting to report from Gaza. Operating in Gaza has always been fraught with danger, with journalists risking their personal safety to cover the conflict. In recent times, these risks have been compounded by heightened tensions and escalating violence, making it increasingly difficult for journalists to access the area and report independently. The limited number of journalists still operating in Gaza face numerous obstacles, including the threat of violence from militant groups and the risk of being caught in the crossfire between warring factions. This has led to a scarcity of first-hand reporting from Gaza, allowing the IDF to maintain greater control over the flow of information and shape the narrative surrounding the conflict. Meanwhile, the International Press Corps has largely been confined to Jerusalem, unable to access Gaza due to safety concerns and logistical challenges. As a result, international media outlets have become heavily reliant on IDF sources for much of their information and updates on the situation in Gaza. This dependence on IDF-provided information has inevitably influenced the framing of news coverage and contributed to the dissemination of the IDF's narrative to a global audience. The IDF's strategic communication efforts, coupled with the limited access and reporting from Gaza, have effectively enabled the Israeli military to control the narrative surrounding the conflict and shape public perceptions, both domestically and internationally. By controlling the flow of information and selectively releasing details about its operations, the IDF has been able to portray its actions in a favorable light while downplaying or omitting potentially damaging information. However, despite the challenges faced by journalists and the dominance of the IDF's narrative, alternative sources of information, including social media, citizen journalism, and independent reporting, have emerged to provide a more nuanced and diverse perspective on the conflict. These alternative sources have helped to counterbalance the IDF's narrative and provide a more comprehensive understanding of the situation on the ground in Gaza. As events unfolded, a different narrative began to emerge, challenging the initial claims made by the Israel Defense Forces, IDF. Initially, the IDF asserted that there was a Hamas headquarters located under Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza. However, as investigations progressed, there was a noticeable lack of evidence to substantiate this claim. Despite assertions by the IDF, no concrete proof was provided to support the existence of a Hamas headquarters at the hospital. This raised doubts about the accuracy of the IDF's allegations and fueled skepticism regarding the justification for military actions targeting the hospital. Furthermore, another significant development occurred when the IDF failed to accurately identify the location of Israeli hostages, despite possessing some of the world's most advanced intelligence capabilities. In recent developments,
he had a month. The deadline ends tonight at midnight, and 4 hours before that deadline, he announced that he would seek immunity, and if he didn't, he would be charged tomorrow morning in court, the defendant Benjamin Netanyahu. So by doing this, he has put that off for some time. On the other hand, it wasn't expected, because when he was asked whether he would do this, and this was just before the last election, he said, no, certainly not. And previously, before he was charged, whenever anything like this came up, the mantra, he used to repeat over and over again is, there won't be anything because there isn't anything. So the feeling in the public is that you ask for immunity. You don't ask for immunity if you're innocent. If you're innocent, you go to court and prove that. You ask for immunity if you're guilty. And that's what the leader of the opposition said tonight. And interestingly, polls show that a majority of Israelis, something like 57%, don't think he should be granted immunity. So that's why he went on TV tonight to tell the public why he was taking this controversial step.
How much, Iris, is this likely to delay criminal proceedings against him?
You know, it absolutely could delay it for months at least. He now is in this very interesting position. It's not automatic. He goes to the parliament and requests immunity, and a parliamentary committee convenes to hear that, and it's decided pretty much along party lines. But at the moment, because it's only a caretaker parliament and there isn't a proper government, that committee isn't sitting. So now there's a huge debate over whether that committee will sit. Now, if the opposition wins and the committee does sit and Netanyahu doesn't have the numbers, he could be out before the next election. If his party wins and the committee doesn't sit, he could buy himself months and months of time. And I think that's partly the aim of this, as well as the reasons that he gives, which is that it's not a fair trial. He can't have a fair trial. He's being persecuted, and that's why he's seeking this immunity deal.
यूनिवर्सल टेलीविजन को सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलें, उसके बाद बेल बटन पे क्लिक करें और अपने कमेंट्स के सेक्शन में अपने कीमती जो ख्यालात का इजहार ज़रूर